Happening in Africa. Georgia Calvin-Smith joins us here live in the studio for that, starting with Tunisia.
Yeah, so clashes broke out around a courthouse in Tunis. Now, that was all about a sentence that was handed down to a Tunisian rapper over a rather controversial video he posted, well, that was posted online of a tune that he recorded that made fun of the police. Now, Ala Yacoub, whose stage name is Veld El Kaz, had been in hiding before handing himself in the hope of getting a lenient sentence, but judges didn't hold back and sentenced him to 2 years in jail.
Veld El Kaz cheered on by his supporters. The young Tunisian rapper decided to come out of hiding and face the court.
I'm sure the judges will be fair, but let's see what happens.
We want the judges to listen to the youth who led the revolution. They were the first to take to the streets asking for freedom.
But 2 hours later, it's without his client that the lawyer left the court. The young rapper was sentenced to 2 years in prison for insulting the police. He was immediately put behind bars.
It's so sad that 2 years after the revolution, we're still talking about freedom of expression, a freedom that is not respected. I'm ashamed for my country.
These last 3 months, Veld El Kaz was hiding while the police was looking for him. In March, he was sentenced in absentia to 2 years in jail because of this same song in which he compares the Tunisian police to dogs.
The police must respect the people, and the people must respect them. It's not just about one song or about me. It's my discourse that the system doesn't like. They deny us freedom of expression. Once again, they want people to shut up.
This evening, the 25-year-old rapper is sleeping in a prison cell. He will appeal the sentence, and his fans are encouraging Tunisians to call for his swift release.
The rapper jailed there in Tunisia. Next, we turn to Mali for more on the fallout from the jihadist invasion that, of course, was turned around by the French mission earlier this year. Georgia.
Now, yeah, so peace talks are still going on. Those are between the government and Tuareg MNLA separatist rebels. Now, they've been going on for a while, and over the last couple of days, they kind of picked up. It looked like things were taking a turn for the better. Now they seem to have hit more trouble. An agreement is actually crucial to paving the way for elections next month. Now, there is an outline of a deal, but international mediators say that it will now probably be a few more days before anything is settled. Now, this is all going on as the UN adds the country to its child soldier list of shame. The organization's special representative, Leila Zerougui, is due to submit a report to the Security Council on her findings next week. She tells us more about her concerns on the effect of recent conflict on Mali's children.
It covers the period between January to December 2012.
So its inclusion is solely down to that period of turbulence that we've seen over the last year or so?
Absolutely. That's why Mali came in this agenda, because of what happened during 2012. You remember the occupation in the north by armed groups, first the MNLA, and then Ansardine and Moujao came in the scene. And you remember the recruitment, the large-scale recruitment of children, sexual violence committed against girls, but also women, and the maiming and killing, and the attacks on schools. So all what happened during this period was a concern, and that's why the report issued this year included Mali and also the listing of the parties that were involved. I can talk about it if we have time. And of course, the situation is now still fragile, volatile, and the concern that we have in 2012 continue in 2013.
So the concerns that you've pointed out in your report go well beyond just child soldiers, children being forced to fight.
not only child soldier, because when we talk about children in armed conflict, people think always about child soldier. But we have 6 violations that this mandate covers and report to the Security Council on. It's sexual violence, maiming and killing, attacks on schools and hospitals, denial of access to humanitarian, abduction, and recruitment use of children. But also we report on detention of children associated with armed forces or armed groups.
Okay, now before moving on to some other stories, we can have a quick update about Nelson Mandela. The former South African president is still in a serious condition with a lung infection, but his health is reportedly improving. On Thursday, President Jacob Zuma paid his first visit to the 94-year-old in hospital. Okay, now in the latest development in a political standoff in Zimbabwe, Prime Minister Morgan Tsvangirai says that President Robert Mugabe sent him a letter saying that elections will go ahead next month despite his objections. Tsvangirai denounced the July 31st date, saying that Mugabe's acted unlawfully by setting it and failed to consult with other members of the ruling coalition. Now, Tsvangirai also accused Mugabe's ZANU-PF party of planning on using electoral loopholes to rig the vote. The Prime Minister says that he is set on stopping the polls going ahead before democratic reforms are in place. Okay, now staying with the subject of messy elections, Madagascar's presidential polls are set for August, but the outcomes already led to objections. The interim president, Andry Rajoelina, had promised not to stand, but he's changed his mind. And his is not the only candidacy to have led to criticism. France says that unless he pulls out, it won't recognise any results from the vote.
Their candidature is controversial, but these 3 political figures still expect to stand in Madagascar's forthcoming presidential elections. First up is the current interim president, Andry Rajoelina. He submitted his candidature as soon as the election was called. Also on the ballot paper is Lalau Ravalomanana, ex-wife of the former president, alongside former head of state Didier Ratsiraka, who reigned over Madagascar for over 20 years. All seem keen to take office, but none of them fulfill the constitutional criteria.
If we stick to the letter of the law, if the Special Electoral Court has strictly applied the law without considering the political context, for me, these 3 people should not even be on the ballot.
The international community is standing firm. Their candidatures are illegal. In theory, the Electoral Court should have rejected them. It has, however, let them stand, a decision that the other candidates in the election have criticised.
It's normal that those who finance elections demand that the elections be carried out properly and transparently.
The threat of a new political crisis hangs over the island, as all 3 candidates refuse to pull out from the race. In the absence of a consensus on the issue, the election has been postponed until August. And France, the territory's former colonial power, has already said it will not recognise the results. As for the international community, it will have to decide this month whether or not to remove itself from the process.
Okay, to Guinea now, where after months of tension and violence, the government and the opposition may be on the verge of settling a deal to move forward with parliamentary elections. Nicolas Germain tells us more.
It appears Guinea's political deadlock is about to be broken. The government and the opposition have both made concessions regarding the upcoming parliamentary elections. President Alpha Condé hinted they might not be held on June the 30th.
I don't choose the date of the elections. That will be decided by the Independent Electoral Commission. I will just implement their decision. Of course, this is an exceptional situation, and so the Commission must ask the Supreme Court to allow a new delay for the deadline of the submission of candidacy, because it's already passed.
In the end, the government said Ghanaians living abroad will be able to take part in the election, while the opposition accepted that the South African company Waymark would update the voter list.
Today, we are more concerned by how local government officials will behave than we are by Waymark, because that company's weaknesses have now been addressed.
The opposition says organising elections in the coming months will be very complicated because of Guinea's climate.
Right now, we're in the rainy season, and the state of our roads is terrible. It can be hell just driving from one town to another.
But for many Guineans, this likely agreement arrives too late. It comes after months of tension. Since the beginning of the year, dozens of people have died in violent clashes on the streets of Conakry.
Okay, that's it from me, but I will be back tomorrow with more.
Excellent. Georgia, thank you very much indeed. Stay with us. Short break. After that, we're back with all the world news and in sport, the latest on Lionel Messi with those tax fraud allegations, plus our special focus. It's on Kuwait. Stay with us.